What is going on, guys? It is Tony giving my take on the NBA playoffs. Yes, the bracket is finally out. Everything's set. The playoffs start this Saturday, and everybody's been making playoff brackets, and it's about time I made one myself. I made one for the NFL, and it kind of failed. Somewhat correct, but kind of failed. But now, hopefully, since I'm a little more knowledgeable in basketball, hopefully I can get this more correct. So let's take a look in the 1-8 in the West. The Rockets taking on the Timberwolves. Now, on this, I honestly think the Timberwolves should not be an 8 seed technically because most of the year they're a top 4 or 5 seed in the West. We know how good Karl Anthony Towns is, Jimmy Butler, Wiggins, Todd Gibson, Jeff Teague. We understand how good the Timberwolves are. I could definitely see this as an upset. Like, I could see the Timberwolves winning this series, but ultimately what it comes down to is Houston being the better team overall. They've been the better team all year long. I'll give the Timberwolves 2 games. I think the Houston Rockets are just the better team overall. I mean, when you look at it, James Harden being the MVP he is, Chris Paul being still a top 5 point guard in the league, and we know Clint Capella is an underrated center, a good defensive center as well that can cause Karl Anthony Towns some trouble. And we know the 3-point shooting team the Houston Rockets have been this season. So I'm going to say Houston in 6, though I do think the Timberwolves can cause them troubles here and there. Now, my favorite series, the most entertaining series to me, I think, is going to be the Thunder against the Jazz, the 4-5 seed in the West. I'm going to say the Thunder are going to win this series, but don't count out the Jazz. And we all know that the Jazz kind of struggled in the beginning of the season, but they definitely found their rhythm throughout the season, and they're one of the best defensive teams in the league, if not the best defensive team in the league. But ultimately, what I think it comes down to is the Utah Jazz not having the same firepower as the Thunder. Now, I understand that the Jazz are good defensively, but the Thunder, I mean, Russell Westbrook, Paul George, Carmelo, Steven Adams, their bench is... it's getting better, I guess. I don't know. The Thunder have been inconsistent, but I mean, I just think Paul George in the playoffs, I mean, that's just disgusting. The Thunder are going to take it in 6, in my opinion, but it might come in Utah's favor here and there. It might look like they're taking control of the series, but ultimately, I think the Thunder will take it in 6. Now, the 3-6 in the West, it won't be an entertaining series to me. I mean, this is just like another regular season game, it seems. But hey, I'm not trying to disrespect these teams. These teams have both rightfully made it to the playoffs. The Pelicans give them a lot of credit. I mean, DeMarcus Cousins went down with an Achilles injury. It looks like they're not going to make the playoffs. Who knows what's going to happen? But they stay strong and... they make the 6th seed. So on this series, I'm going to roll with the Portland Trailblazers. I mean, I understand Anthony Davis with the star he's been being. Drew Holiday, we need him to show up in the series if they want a chance of winning. Rondo's been playing pretty good. But we just need everybody to be playing at a high level at the Pelicans. But that's asking for a lot. The Portland Trailblazers just have a better team in general. Damian Lillard, that superstar he is, that underrated superstar. Nurkic, McCollum. I just think that that's a better team. I think they have home court as well. I think they're well prepared. Now, the last quarterfinal round of the 2018 NBA playoffs, the Golden State Warriors taking on the San Antonio Spurs, a rematch of last year's Western Conference Finals, except this time around, the Spurs have not won 50 games a season. They don't have Kawhi. A lot of stuff has been going on, but LaMarcus has been playing great this season, but that's not going to change anything. I think the Golden State Warriors are going to win in 5, regardless if they have Curry or not. I mean, the Spurs are just, they pretty much scrap their way into the playoffs. I don't think they're going to contest with the Warriors. They might win one. They might catch the Warriors off guard. The Warriors might be being lazy, but ultimately what it comes down to is the Spurs not being the same as last year. They're not better than last year. And the Warriors, I know they're banged up a bit, and I don't care how you saw them playing at the end of the season. This is the playoffs, and they're not messing around in the playoffs, so I'll definitely give it into the Warriors' favor. They'll win in 5, if not 4. The 1-8 in the East, this could be an upset. The Wizards could definitely upset the Raptors considering of how we've seen the Raptors play in the playoffs these previous years. But this year's not last year or 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I'm just saying it could happen because of the history, but it's not going to for sure happen. But the Wizards, I mean, they're an 8th seed, but don't count them out. Just like the Timberwolves, don't count them out. You still talk about a team that has Marcin Gortat, John Wall, Bradley Beal, Otto Porter. I mean, I'm just looking at this team like, don't mess with them. But ultimately, I think the Toronto Raptors will win in 6 games. I think the Wizards will cause them some trouble here and there. But ultimately, the Raptors will win the game or series, and they'll move on. The 4-5 seed in the East, I don't know if I need to talk about it that much. I'm going to roll with Cleveland. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I mean, the Pacers are a good team. I didn't expect them to make the playoffs this year. At least at not this high of a seed. But I don't think they're ready to even contest with the Cavaliers in terms of a 7-game series. I know the season series went in favor of the Pacers 3-1, but playoff LeBron is something else. And I know you guys can say, oh, LeBron doesn't have any other big name like with him, but it doesn't matter. LeBron just needs some players that can complement his game. You notice year in, year out, he's had players like Korver, J.R. Smith, 3-point shooters that can definitely space out the floor and really help out LeBron so LeBron could drive to the rim. If they're double teaming, hey, pass it out to someone that can shoot the three. If LeBron has players that can complement him, he'll be fine in the East. It's no problem. The 3-6 in the East, this is somewhat of an interesting series. I've seen some predictions and brackets that the Heat could win this series, or they're the sleeper pick. I totally understand where they're coming from, but at the end of the day, I'm just looking at the 76ers, and I'm looking at them like as a young and upcoming team. The Heat, I mean, they're a good team. Don't get me wrong. They're Rough Riders. They're good defensively. Whiteside, Tyler Johnson, Dragic, James Johnson. I understand. Wayne Ellington, a good 3-point shooter, but I mean, Embiid will probably be back by then. I'll give him bigger motivation to come back earlier, knowing that Whiteside and that little tweet beef that he had with Whiteside. But I think 76ers, I mean, when you look at it, Simmons, Embiid, Fultz being a good second unit bench player off the spot, like he could provide a spark off the bench. That's what I'm trying to say. Robert Covington, who I think is very underrated. Dario Saric. I'm just looking at that team. JJ Redick. I mean, they have it all: veteranship and youth. So I think the Philadelphia 76ers will win in 6. Now, this 2-7 in the East. This is also another interesting series: the Celtics and the Bucks. I know the Celtics don't have Kyrie, and I know the Bucks might be the favorites to win this series, but I'm actually going to roll with the Celtics. I think Brad Stevens has been good enough of a coach to at least get past the Bucks. I mean, we've seen Brad Stevens make good players, great players. I honestly think that Terry Rozier is really good. Ever since Kyrie's been gone, he's been balling ever since. Al Horford's still good. Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Marcus Morris, good players. So I definitely think that the Celtics can probably get around the Bucks in 6. Now this was the hardest series to call. The Bucks could totally demolish the Celtics, but I'm just gonna roll with the Celtics. Now, don't think I'm being I'm showing favoritism towards the Celtics. I'm a Laker fan. I hate them. So yeah, I'm just gonna show the season some love, I guess. I don't know. The 1-4 in the West in the semifinals, the Rockets taking on the Thunder. I think this is where the Thunder's run comes to an end. I think they're gonna lose in 5. Ultimately, what this comes down to is Houston's being a better team. We all know that. But I think Russell Westbrook, he's not the best decision maker. And ultimately what it comes down to is he's the point guard, he's the facilitator. If he wants any chance of winning the series, he can't be chucking up 35 shots a game and only making 9 of them or 12 of them, You could see Russell Westbrook gets triple doubles here and there, but he might get 9 or 10 turnovers and then might not shoot the ball very well. So we need to see Russell Westbrook being efficient if they want any chance to win this series. If he wants to convince Paul George to stay, he needs to be efficient. He cannot let that happen. But I think it's going to be a repeat of last year. Rockets taking care of the Thunder in just 5, or I think it was 4. I don't know of what happened last year, but all I know is that the Rockets won last year. The 3-2 in the West, the Blazers taking on the Warriors. I don't think this is much of a debate either. I mean, I understand the Blazers are a good team, but ultimately it's the Warriors. They'll have Curry back by this time. The Blazers, they just don't have enough. I understand they have Lillard, McCollum, Nurkic. I know they have that, but when you look at the Warriors, they're just a better team. So I'm going to roll with the Warriors in 6. I think Portland can win one at home and maybe steal one at Golden State. I'm not sure. Toronto, Cleveland. This is probably the series that everybody's been anticipating all year long. I've been sticking with Cleveland. I've said it. I've said Cleveland would make the finals ever since day 1. And I've had people laugh at me for that. But you know what? I think it's going to happen. I'm going to stick with them. And you know what? It's not even going to go to a game 7. It's going to finish game 6, if not earlier. Every time the Raptors play the Cavaliers, I think the Raptors always struggle. They get this type of urgency and they get nervous and they play worse. I don't know. DeRozan's been better this year. The Raptors have a better bench, but you never know. But I'm just going to roll with LeBron James. I mean, you can't bet against this guy. Like I said, he is a totally different beast in the playoffs. I'm going to roll with the Cleveland Cavaliers. The 3-2 in the East, I don't see Boston making the Eastern Conference Finals. I think this is where the injury bug really starts to eat them up. I'll give Boston one game against Philly, but just looking at the series matchup, and the Boston Celtics don't have a great big man in terms of defensively or rebounding. But Joel Embiid's going to feast on the Celtics. I think they'll handle him in 5. But ultimately, I mean, the Celtics have a bright future, so they don't have. I mean, if they don't win it this year, I mean, obviously, I don't think the Celtic fans care because Kyrie's out. But yeah, so let's stay in the East. The 3-4 in the East. The Cleveland Cavaliers taking on the Philadelphia 76ers. LeBron James, the King, versus the Prince of Ben Simmons. Whatever you want to say about it. I've seen previous playoff brackets, and I don't know how people can have Philadelphia going to the finals. I don't know. They're too inexperienced, and when you talk about a Cleveland Cavalier team who's been in the finals for, 3 straight years now, about to make it a 4th, and a LeBron James, the best small forward of all time, the best all-around player of all time, the most dominant in this modern era, when I'm taking a look at it like that, you can't bet against this guy. He's made it to 7 straight finals, and you know what? I think he's going to make it in the 8th straight finals. He's going to win in 5, and they're going to make the NBA Finals in my prediction. Now, the Western Conference Finals is going to be a little tricky because we've seen a couple years ago when the Warriors struck the 3-1 lead, Stephen Curry, the reports going out there, they're saying he's not 100%. And they kind of struggled a lot. Stephen Curry struggled a lot. Now, I don't know if he's going to be 100% this year or what. But if this goes to a Game 7, I think Houston will win. But I don't think Houston's going to match up with Golden State that well. I don't know. I mean, Capella, who knows how he'll play against the Warriors. He'll probably play good just because the centers and Golden State are not as well. But when I just take a look at it, I mean... Oh, man, it can go one way or the other, but my gut is just saying Golden State barely, but I think they'll win in 6. If it goes to a 7, I'll no longer be comfortable saying that they'll win the series. Now, for the 4th straight year, and maybe the final year in my opinion, Golden State against Cleveland. And just taking a look at this series, you can automatically say Golden State, right? Now, I'm giving a huge chance to LeBron James winning this whole thing. I don't know why everyone's trying to count him out, but he's done it once. He can do it again. But ultimately, what the difference maker is going to be this game is hopefully the Warriors won't be too comfortable in just saying, oh, it's just against the Cavaliers. We took care of them last year. They suck this year. If they have that mindset coming into the finals this year, they're going to lose. I'm calling it now. But if the Warriors come in hungry to win a title, they're going to win it easily. The thing with the Cleveland Cavaliers roster is it's good enough to come out of the East, but is it really good enough to compete against the Golden State Warriors? They couldn't pretty much, they got dominated last year with Kyrie, Kevin Love, J.R. Smith, everyone was there. Last year's Cleveland team is better than this year's. So just taking a look at it, in the NBA Finals, the Golden State Warriors are going to win, and I think it's going to be in 6 instead of 5 like last year because there's going to be anticipations that maybe this is the last time LeBron will wear a Cleveland jersey, and LeBron's going to feel the need to try as hard as he can to not only to get closer to Jordan, but to also maybe bring another title back home. It's definitely going to give him a more motivation to win the finals, but ultimately what I think is going to happen is the Golden State Warriors are going to win in 6. Now, like I said, the Western Conference Finals, Houston Rockets, Golden State Warriors, it can go either way. If Houston comes out of the West, I might come up here and say Cleveland's going to win it all. I don't know. This is a very unpredictable NBA playoffs. I mean, who knows? The Heat could beat the 76ers. The Jazz could beat the Thunder. The Timberwolves could beat the Rockets. That could make this whole playoff bracket wrong. But you know what? It's fun making a bracket because you never know what's going to happen, and you'd always like to see if you're right or wrong. It's just a fun thing to do. I don't know. It's just totally unpredictable. Like, you never know what's going to happen. But I do know this for sure. LeBron James is not going to go out without a fight. I'm not counting him out. I respect LeBron. Although I'm not the biggest fan of him, I'm not a hater of him. But I'm not going to count out LeBron James. He's definitely going to give the Warriors a run for their money. And I think he'll come out of the East. I mean, I can't count against him. The last time he didn't make the finals was 2010. That's when the Lakers and Celtics were in there. That's a long time ago. So he's been pretty much running this whole decade. Do you think it's honestly going to stop? Look at the East. A Toronto Raptor team who's known for not performing up to their usual level during the season in the playoffs. A banged up Celtics team. a young and inexperienced 76. I mean, I just think that they're going to come out of the East. They're going to lose to Golden State, though, in my opinion. Drop a like if you guys enjoyed the video. Comment down below what your playoff bracket is. And, yeah, subscribe for more. All right, guys. Peace out, and I'll see you guys next time.